Welcome to the Small Scape. I'm Joanna and today we're talking plants, specifically floating plants. So if you love floating plants, today is not really a all you need to know about floating plants. However, it is a let's take a look at my collection video. I thought it would be kind of fun, and I've been getting a lot of questions and comments about floating plants lately, so I figured I'm going to show off my collection. Whether you're new to plants, new to floating plants, or you like them all anyways and you have them all, I thought it would be fun to share. And you will notice that one of them is not like the others, but I had to include it because it's new for me and I was really excited, so I'm sure you'll be able to tell which one is not like the others. But let's take a look and hopefully you enjoy. Well, I decided I would display my collection of floating plants in one of the latest scapes that I've done. This is a 20 gallon long in my Nano Nook. I will link the video down below if you'd like to check it out. It is a fun scape, and the height that this tank is at makes it perfect for appreciating and viewing floating plants, of which, as you can see, I have a little bit of a collection going, and I know a lot of you like floating plants too, but just so you know, there are a lot of different ones out there. This is obviously not a comprehensive list. It's just kind of a view on my collection, because floating plants, not only are they beautiful and they're all quite different, they're different sizes and textures, but they also provide a lot of added benefits. They can clean your water column. They can remove excess nutrients. They can also provide cover for fish and little baby fish. The fry can kind of seek cover in those floating plants. And then they also provide cover for other plants like Anubias that are low light plants that don't really like a bright light. So they serve a lot of different purposes. There are some cons. Yes, they can get out of control, like your friend and mine, duckweed. I know a lot of people do not like duckweed. We do have them in pretty much all of our tanks. I did do a video of a very easy way that you can remove duckweed. It kind of helps, and it's also very relaxing. I can link that down below for you. And also, I didn't include hornwort, another one of my favorites. I did a video on that because I really do love hornwort. It's a great plant that we do float along with other plants. But let's take a look at the ones that I do have. Floating plants can trap some algae. It's doing okay in this tank right now, but it can also trap some food, and it's also something to keep in mind if you are tossing your food on the top of the tank. If you have floating plants, you just want to make sure that that food isn't getting trapped on top of the floating plants, because you will notice while it will start to get really gross and you have to clean it up. So just something to keep in mind with floating plants, but I really find that the benefits far outweigh the cons for these, and as you can see, they're just so pretty. And if you have a tank where you can fully appreciate the top, you can really have some really striking floating plants and a lot of action up top of the tank. Now going from, I think I'm going to start from smallest, the leaf size, the smallest, going all the way to the largest, at least in my collection here. Starting from the smallest is, of course, duckweed, which makes it the hardest to remove it or to keep it under control because it's so tiny and it just goes every direction, and it's just very, it likes to populate the tank very quickly. But it's well, I guess you can consider it kind of cute. I actually like it if you do very small water gardens. It does great in that, and it's a great little tiny scale if you're looking for that, if you do water gardens like I do. Very tiny tanks with no fish, but that's kind of one of my favorite uses for it. Now, if you go up just a little bit, you have giant duckweed, and this is one of my newest acquisitions. I just got that this weekend, and as you can see, it looks like duckweed. It's just slightly larger. I kind of like it because, yes, it would be easier to remove if it goes a little crazy in your tank. And it's kind of got that smooth, it really just looks like duckweed, just a little bit larger, but it's a smooth kind of texture, just like duckweed. And then if you go up just a little bit bigger from that, you have probably one of my favorites. Well, I'm probably gonna say a lot of these are my favorites, but this was my original favorite floating plant, Salvinia minima, because the size is very nice. It can go for some of my super tiny tanks to some of my larger tanks. I just love it. All of these plants just propagate very, very quickly, as you will probably tell if you ever have these. But I love the texture. They're very kind of fuzzy. They're really pretty. It's a really pretty plant, and I just love it. All right, so about the same size as Salvinia minima is red root floaters. I just got this at Aquashella. Thanks so much to Melissa Foster. She got me some. She shared her little bag that she got at the show, and I was able to have my very first red root floaters. I've never had them before. I don't have a whole lot of red plants because I don't have highlights. I don't really run that, but it's going that direction because I do find the need that I do need some red plants in my life. So this is just a couple little whatever you want to call them, little pods of red root floaters. Now, of course, the beauty of these, obviously they're red leaves, but also they're really long red roots that go right into the water. They're just so beautiful and graceful looking. As you can see, the new leaves are a little bit lighter, but I'm hoping that some of these lights, that it'll really kind of kick off the red color. The next one that I have is Amazon frogbit. This one is really great because, as you can see, it's kind of like a really large, well, you go duckweed and then the giant duckweed, and then you have the Amazon frogbit, even larger kind of version of the previous two. I like it because it forms really cool little clusters of leaves, and the leaves are very smooth and kind of shiny. Really like it, and you'll find these a lot with people who have ponds. You'll find this a lot in ponds as also in addition to the aquarium world. Really love it for just kind of a standard must-have floating plant. Now, larger from that is water lettuce. I have a pond outside. I don't keep them out there because it is one of the most invasive plants, and even from your pond, birds or little critters can actually carry the seeds and carry this plant, and it can completely overtake other ponds out in nature. So I don't actually use it in my pond. I just use it in my inside aquariums here. But as you can see, it has a fuzzy texture and a totally different leaf structure as the other ones that are just generally like round. I just love the look of these. Really pretty, and like I said, it's very soft. It's very pretty looking. Adds a lot of texture to the top of your tank. Now this last one, I finally acquired Riccia. Riccia, you may have seen before. It can actually be used as a moss in your aquarium too. You tie it on or attach it kind of like you would a moss, and it can look kind of like a carpet. I don't use it right at this point. I'm not using it like that. I'm just using it as a floating kind of mass. They're almost like, it's like a moss. It comes apart. You can divide it very easily. Like I said, you can attach it with wire or string to any kind of a rock or your driftwood or something like that. But I actually like to see it floating on top of the water, just like I would in the pond. I have some out in the pond there too, and they're just kind of like floating masses, and they have a really fun texture as well, totally different from the other ones, and just really something different. So that is the collection of floating plants that I currently have. Like I said, it's not an all-inclusive list or anything. There's so many out there. I just really like to add interest whenever I can, and the top of the tank is one area that I think a lot of people just don't think to add plants. And a lot of these floating plants are great for beginners because they multiply so fast that you can throw them in different tanks. You can see which lights, which tanks work out better, but it's just a great plant, and it's just for any beginner plant keeper. It's a great option to take a look into these. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.